Welcome to Ring Talk, the weekly Goodwin boxing show where we're going to make this up on the fly because we haven't prepared anything, but that's fairly standard, really. With myself, Martin Theobald, and with Steve Goodwin. How are you, Steve?
I'm all good. Been busy negotiating potential fights today with various things that hopefully we'll be able to announce next week with any luck.
Yeah, you're not allowed to say where you were today, are you?
No.
No, I know where you were, but we'll keep it quiet. I won't even give one of my less than subtle suggestions as to where it was, but I do know that it involved negotiating big fights for big fighters in the stable. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah.
Lots of moving parts, lots of stuff that hopefully will come out in the not too distant future. But it's exciting. I promise people that it's exciting. One question from my end: when you go off and have those meetings with those people about particular fights, I'm guessing the fighters don't go with you, that you're there discussing, because there might be fights that come up that you hadn't necessarily intended on discussing, and that is the case, I think, based on what you're saying earlier. So I'm guessing A, they don't go with you.
Sometimes I used to, if it was going to be specific about one fighter, one thing, one deal, then you would take the fighter. When it's a generalization, then no, because if you do, then that meeting revolves one fight and you can't talk about the other things. So today was about a variety of things.
All right. So if you're there sort of like negotiating the commercials of it, the finances, presumably to some degree, albeit, they'll be contracted separately. How much do you then need to go back and sort of update the fighter? And how much is it then? Could they go, no, I'm not happy with that, go back and ask for something else?
No,
How
so
do
today
you
when I
dictate to them or they dictate to you?
no, that's what you got a manager for, to negotiate. I spoke to one of the fighters about certain things and he was delighted. Um, but every fighter that I discussed today, I spoke to them afterwards. So to say, this is a meeting I had today, this is something that is potentially happening, this is this. And that's what you do, really. And you just chat through, you keep them informed of every meeting you have about them. And so they're totally in the loop with it. I mean, when I had meetings with Wasserman, say for Linus went down, he was in the meetings with me. The problem you've got sometimes is fighters can be excitable. So if you're in a meeting and you're trying to discuss with certain fighters and certain promoters, a fighter can look like he's just doesn't care and will sign any. You need sometimes it's better they're not there. Sometimes it's difficult. It depends on what meeting it is. I've took when I was with Frank Buglioni, I took him to the meetings. I was at meetings with Chisora, with Eddie Hearn back in the day. Nicola Adams was there in meetings when I was with her. So Zach Chelli, I was in meetings with Sky with him. So yeah, so it's a mixture of, and I had meetings about Zach Chelli without him there. So it's a mixture. It depends on what you're discussing and why. But yeah, it's all but the fighters, if they're not there, then they're in the loop within 5 minutes of me leaving wherever I'm going.
Got you. So it's always on you to sort the commercials. And
Yeah,
I'm guessing they'd always have the right to veto it if they wish.
cool.
But
Of course they
ultimately,
have.
why have they employed you if that's the case?
And at the end of the day, yeah, you have. There are times we get offered fights. For example, Mikey Saki was offered a fight. It doesn't matter who, by what for. And we got that over the phone. I rang Mikey up and I said, this is not enough. And he said, no, it's not enough. And we just turned it down.
Yeah.
So yeah, if the money doesn't make sense, then we don't do it. Yeah. But we'll talk about the money with the boxer first. You can normally agree with them. I don't turn it down without speaking to them. We'll talk about it together.
Yeah. All right. So a little insight there as to how it works with negotiations. The world of boxing has been a lot of press conferences this week. That's sort of been the talking points that are going on. Before I come on to that, a lad that I was delighted for on Friday night who's been on several of your shows over the years, defended his Commonwealth title Friday night on TNT Sports, Sam Gilly. So quick shout out to Sam. I don't know if you
Yeah,
saw it.
I actually rang Rod on Saturday, his trainer and manager, and I said to Rod, and I'll say it again now. I thought Sam was a good fighter going back in the day. but I didn't think he was going to reach the levels that he's reaching. And I thought that he looked really good on Friday, the best he's ever looked. And I think he's still improving. And I just rang Rod and said, look, congratulations on what you've done with him, because he looked really good. He was very sharp, and you really turned him into a very, very, very good fighter. So, I did ring. I think it's always important to ring people up when you see they've done something well and praise them. So I made that phone call Saturday. Nothing to do with me, because he isn't anything to do with me, but I think it's always right to say that when somebody you think's done a good job.
Yeah, agree, agree. It's a great acknowledgement because you and I have sat with Rod and Sam in your offices years back, and sort of when he was fighting on your shows. Lovely couple of blokes. I've got a lot of time for Sam. And he was the first person I ever wrote a boxing news fight write up for, and it's on my stairs upstairs. So yeah, shout out to Sam. It was a brilliant performance. Jack McGann, I know he took the fight late notice. It's meant to be Louis Green, but he did what he was there to do, Sam, and absolutely dominated him. So I was really impressed.
What did you think of the heavyweight fight on the card? Did you see that?
I did. I didn't watch it live. The Nick Webb.
But Courtney Bennett, isn't Courtney Bennett the one that um, Terry was raving about? I saw Terry there. I saw Terry at your call on the screens. But I know he's always gone on about Courtney Bennett. I didn't see it. I didn't see what he sees. He was not in any condition. He's a GB athlete who looked totally unfit.
Yeah, I mean Terry. For those listening that don't know who he is, Highfield Boxing. Check out his podcast. He actually addresses. He did an episode about it,
Oh,
sort of
did he? I see. I'll
on
have
the
a listen to
Saturday
that.
post the fight. So I won't speak on his behalf. It's all there in the
Oh, I'll
podcast.
listen to that. I'll listen to that. But I
Yeah, yeah.
didn't.
No,
I thought he was
Highfield
very,
Boxing. Find
very.
it.
I thought Courtney Bennett was very. I listened to what Terry's got to say. I thought he was extremely disappointing. Extremely. I thought it was terrible. And I thought Nick Webb, who's never been that far either, but I thought it just wasn't. It reminded me back in the days of the 1980s, Horace Notice, Trevor Hugh, Roy Curry, where you had plodding heavyweights all getting tired, throwing bombs and that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? And it just brought me back to not the good old days, I'd say the bad old days. And it was like, you wouldn't remember that, you're younger than me, but used to watch heavyweight British title fights, and they were such poor quality. They were just two fat men lumbering around the ring. I thought it was dreadful. It was a dreadful fight.
Yeah, it wasn't a good fight, was it? Let's be honest. But yeah, I say go and find Highfield Boxing on all your podcast providers. Have a listen to it. He did a specific episode about that on
Okay.
Saturday last week. Yeah, I didn't watch much else of the card. Was there anything worth
That's
picking
all.
out?
I only watched the last two.
All right. Cool. So, press conferences. Not a lot to talk about with Tyson Fury and Alexander Usyk, other than Usyk turning up dressed as a hitman. I don't know why, but fine. Whatever works for him. The Regis Prograde Jack Catterall one. Did you see any of that today?
I thought the thing where he played the Sam Jones video was absolutely hilarious, because Sam said, I never said that. And he just went, boop. And then he threatened to expose what he'd sent him privately. It was just comedy gold, I thought.
It was. Now I have a theory. I always have a theory about such things. I know Sam. I know Sam is a big WWE, WWF fan. Um, I my theory is that was entirely staged.
Oh, really? Is that right?
Entirely, entirely. Don't forget, Sam and Regis worked together at Pro Bellum,
Yes,
um,
true.
which is where Sam was saying, that's where this voice note was from. Who? I mean, that's 3 years ago. Have you got the same phone now you had 3 years ago?
No.
Yeah, I haven't. I'd challenge anyone to say they got the same phone out 3 years. You might be able to go back through WhatsApp and load the old messages. I don't know if you change phone.
I say you think it's a whole. Well, it's very. I thought it was very funny. So I think it was. If it was staged, very clever.
So what I think about it is it's not a fight that's garnered a massive amount of attention as a boxing fan or outside of the boxing realm. I've been sent that clip by 3 different people in 3 different sort of groups today. Um, I've seen it sort of multiple times from different boxing channels online. it has gathered eyeballs. Sam Jones, for whatever fault you want to pick on him, is brilliant at getting eyeballs onto fights. He did the same with Catterall Josh Taylor, the second one. Um, he sort of said Josh Taylor acknowledged him. He made him more money than Josh Taylor's own team had done because of the work Sam Jones did. To me, that was a WWF move. I think they probably recorded that voice note 30 seconds before the press conference is due to start, and then just play it there and then. I genuinely believe that's what they've done, and I think it's genius if that is the case.
I agree.
And I think it's genius by Regis Prograis if it isn't the case to line it up. Either way, it's not a critique. I just think it's clever promotion.
That's true because we're talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. I say I've seen it from more people today than I've heard talk about the fight in general. Anyway, so no, I was either way highly impressed by it as a method.
Fair dues, fair dues. It's not a bad fight. It's not a bad fight. I think Catterall wins. I think Prograis sort of older now, but yeah, it's a good. It's still an okay fight.
Yeah, I mean, well, come on. So the card itself. I've got a friend who lives up near Manchester who's a boxing fan, who gets back from holiday on the Saturday and was talking about maybe going up to the fight.
Okay.
And then he's then he's checked out the undercard and gone, I ain't going for that.
Was he really?
Yeah. So have you seen the undercard?
Really? I'm
Or
just gonna pull it up now. I've seen the Campbell Hatton fight.
yeah, so you've got, let me run through it. So you've got Emily Whitworth against someone, don't know, it doesn't really matter. William Crawler against someone, doesn't really matter.
No,
Stephen Clark against someone, doesn't really
doesn't
matter.
matter. Jono Boston.
Dave Boston against someone, doesn't really matter. Then you go on to Joe McGrail against Lewis Morris. I don't know Lewis Morris. So James Flint against Campbell Hatton. So the rematch of the loss for Campbell Hatton.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Like,
That's not a bad fight. That's a fair fight.
yeah, it'll be a fun fight. It's an area level fight. We like area level fights,
Yeah.
and we saw it was fun last time round. No issue with that. Pat McCormack against
It's an
some
Argentinian. That doesn't matter. Yeah, it's nothing.
don't care. Reese Bellotti
That's a good
against
fight.
Mark Emmett Jr. It's all right. It's all right.
There's
My
three
point
good. There's
is,
three good fights on the card.
your
Catterall,
Box
Bellotti,
Mania
and Flint.
card, your Box Mania card was 10 times better than that undercard.
Yeah, nice, fair.
That's where it comes to, though, is my issue with it. And I can see why my friend up north is like, no, I'm not going for that. The main event, though, Jack Catterall, Regis Prograis, is a really good fight. And I think I'm not close enough to sort of looking through who all of the belt holders are around those divisions, if I'm perfectly honest. Yeah, doesn't fill me with sort of inspiration to go and look through it. But it almost surprises me Jack Catterall's never fought for a world title after the two Josh Taylor fights, now fighting Regis Prograis without a world title on the line. It's almost surprising. But I think it's a really good fight, irrespective of that.
No, I agree. I think no, it's a good fight. And no, I think there's three good fights, but whether three good fights is good enough for an Eddie Hearn DAZN card is probably questionable, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's if you raise that sort of issue publicly, then you almost get it put back at you of, yeah, but people complain there's nothing on the zone. Well, there is. This is not a pay-per-view. This is to me the minimal expectation of what you should get out of a DAZN subscription on a fortnightly, at worst case, monthly basis. I can't remember the last time there was a standard DAZN card like this. And there's one more lined up, which is the Sonny Edwards Yafai fight. Outside of that, I don't know what's on DAZN at all, really. So we sit and critique Sky for not having enough on, and they continue to not have enough on. At least DAZN have got this, but they haven't got a lot else.
That's fair. But then they're not bothering with they're not really bothering. I'm just looking what they have. They've got the Cup Manchester. He's got a show in Birmingham on the 30th.
Yeah, it's the Sonny Edwards one, isn't it?
That's it for the rest of the year. That's it.
It's rubbish, isn't it? Let's be honest. I've seen today they've done like an early Black Friday sale where you get 33% off your DAZN subscription. You'll get fucking 90% off. There's nothing on it aside from this weekend and the upcoming. Like, genuinely, I don't understand why people sort of buy an annual subscription to these things now. There's nothing on them.
Yeah, I mean, you can see it's not great, is it? It's not
Is
great.
anyone buzzing for Sonny Edwards against your fine? It's a, I'm sure it'll be a worthwhile fight in that division, but I find it hard to get excited about.
The Cameron Vaughan Gavin Green fight's not bad. I think and the Conor Walker Ritson fight's okay. But
No, no, it's not. Ritson's washed. I'm not
I think
having
he's
it.
gone, dear.
Yeah, yeah. I think he's absolutely finished. And that's with the greatest respect. I've travelled up to Newcastle just to go and watch Lewis Ritson when he was on that blitz through the British title scene, and he was such good fun. I don't like seeing the stage he's at now where his name is being used to sort of pass
I
on
suppose
to
O'Hara stopped him last year, and we saw O'Hara. Yeah, I
Ahara
suppose.
getting stopped by Azim. Sort of, they're at that stage where their name is being
I
passed
think
on.
Conor Walker is nothing super special. It's probably going to be competitive. It's the worst opponent that Ridson has fought for a long time, isn't it? So who knows? But yeah, it's not. No, yeah. I mean, it's okay as a fight for me. It's not, but it's not anything I'd be bothered about watching. Yeah, but it's yeah. The quality is decreasing with a lot. It's only Warren. It's only Frank Warren that's holding up British boxing at the moment and putting on decent cards.
I agree. There's all the top level stuff is getting siphoned off to Riyadh season. Then you've got the small hall scene which bubbles away on its own, and then you've got this void in the middle that sort of Sky had their show on Saturday night. So Adam Azim stopping Ahara Davis. What else happened on it? I can't remember. I was out on Saturday night. Um, I don't know. I'm sort of not
I mean, the
inspired.
O'Hara Davis fight, it was pretty much. I mean, he gave it his all, but he's a fighter that even he knows himself that he's not the fighter he was. That's why he's not going to fight anymore. And I think that was, that was fair. But you had Dan Aziz, Lewis Edmondson, didn't you, on that card where Edmondson won a majority decision. Very close fight. You had Michael McKinson, who lost the IBO world title. He just got outworked. You had Anthony Yard, who looked shockingly bad, winning his fight. You had Jamie TKV, the heavyweight. It wasn't bad fight. He beat that Franklin Ignatius. Shannon Courtney got beat coming back
Oh yeah,
time off.
they showed that on TikTok.
Did they?
So they did like a YouTube, as these promoters do, sort of the main show on Sky, the pre-show on YouTube, the pre-show was on TikTok, which fair enough, like engage that next generation because it's
Yeah.
not for me, it's not for you, it's for the younger folk. They whacked Shannon Courtney on it and she lost. Very strange.
And Francesca Hennessy thought, but yeah, I don't want to seem to be sort of it was it's
It's uninspiring.
yeah, it's not yeah, it's just the cards are just not yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
the
yeah,
whole thing's uninspiring. Like pro grade catch, all good fight. I'm up for that. The rest of it, take it or leave it, really, if I'm honest. Um, Adam Azim, I think, has a big future. I like the fact they're not rushing him. I like the fact they're giving him these opportunities to develop, unlike they did with Fraser Clark. And maybe you could argue Ben Whittaker's been chucked in the deep end a little bit, or not even the deep end, the deeper end a little bit quickly. Azim, super talented. I like the way they're developing him. So shout out to Sky and Boxer for doing that.
definitely.
But it lacks that something extra to me. But I think boxing does generally at the moment, outside of the whole Riyadh season stuff. It's a weird place, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a weird time and sort of space of boxing.
yeah, no, it's fair. It's
There's
fair.
that void where there used to be, I don't know, maybe it was that there was more British talent a few years back. Maybe it wasn't all getting siphoned off for big pay-per-view cards. The pay-per-view cards were sort of 2 or 3 big fights. Now they're 7 or 8. So you lose that ability to utilize the talent elsewhere. Don't
Yeah.
know. That's how it feels to me.
It is so much. I don't know. I just want to see a card and think, and you can think, oh, that's a great card.
Yeah, well, we had that, didn't we? To be fair, the Joshua card that was exceptional. Um,
But that's a re-ed season card, and what I mean by a card is a card that's not funded by Turkish
right.
Drake.
So something that's not a sports washing exercise.
Yeah, well, just one that's traditionally not funded from abroad. You want to see Hearn or Eddie Hearn or whatever. Just look at a card and think, wow, that's really great.
Do you know
Because
what?
Eddie Hearn, you got to remember when Eddie Hearn was with Sky, you often got cards you thought they're great, they're really worth watching, and yeah, and you have had some Frank Warren cards where you think, okay, that's a good. There's some good fights on that, but yeah, it's just at the moment the product seems to be yeah.
I agree. And what you want is those big O2 nights.
Yeah,
That's sort of the definition. If you can whack it on at the O2, I know this co-op arena up in Manchester is sort of huge. I don't know how it's sold. I've seen quite a lot of places offering out free tickets, which is never a great sign. Uh,
I think people aren't going. I think people are disengaging with the sport at that level now. They're not. You're getting the small hall people still going, but I think at that higher level, that people are not engaging. They are just turning away from the sport and going and spending their money on other things at that level. Not the Anthony Joshua level, but that level, not the Riyadh season level, the level below. I think you're seeing less at the O2 because they're just not going to sell it.
yeah, but I mean, if you stop servicing that client base, then don't be surprised if they stop being interested when you do put on the rare shows.
Yeah, it's a problem. I don't know what's going on, but I think we'll see. I still say the same thing. I think over the next 6 months, we will see a lot of things going on.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. And that'd be people coming into the sport, maybe people going out
And
of the
I've
sport.
got something to tell you afterwards. Don't switch off when I can't say while we're recording, but when we start recording,
All right. Um,
something about that.
well,
So,
there we go. We're rambling on a little bit about the state of the sport, but that's kind of where we are, really. It's a weird ether that we're in. So let's come back together next week in the aftermath of Regis Prograde Jack Cattrall. How do you think it ends?
I think Catterall probably wins, probably on points.
Yeah, I think that's
Probably
fair.
most. I think Campbell Hatton gets his revenge over Flint, and maybe we can make Campbell Hatton Yasser gainer for the English title after Yasser wins in December. That would be a good fight to make. Um, what else is going on? I think Walker will beat Ritson because he's a bit fresher. Um, that's about it, really. That's about it. That's all there is to say about the card, really, in my opinion.
Yeah, wicked. Right. So we'll be back next week. We'll come back and review the world of boxing. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us, and we shall see you next week.